Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Unlimited, Viking Air Limited supports water bombers, pilot fined for watching a golf game, City of Santa Monica kills another airport business. I'm Bree Cross, it's October 11th, 2016, and this is Airborne Unlimited. Viking Air Limited of Victoria, British Columbia has now completed the acquisition of the Amphibious aircraft program from Bombardier, including transfer of the type certificates for the CL-215, CL-215T, CL-415 aircraft, and all variants to Viking. Upon completion of the type certificate transfer, Viking is designated as the original equipment manufacturer for the amphibious aircraft fleet, including full manufacturing design rights for all variants. Viking also assumes responsibility for in-service product support for the fleet of 170 water bombers currently in operation in 11 countries worldwide. Viking's David Curtis said in part, quote, "Aerial firefighting capability is becoming increasingly important, and in our leadership in supporting utility aircraft, we look forward to working with operators to ensure these vital aircraft remain ready to perform to their full potential, protecting communities and critical infrastructure." The pilot of a float plane found himself in hot water earlier this month after he landed his float-equipped Piper Cub on Lake Hazeltine next to the Hazeltine National Golf Club to try to catch the final round of the Ryder Cup. It's reported the local police chief referred to the pilot's actions as, quote, "the most imbecilic thing I've ever seen in my life." It's claimed there is a local ordinance against using the lake during a golf tournament, but it's also reported the ordinance has never been codified. The plane was towed away and tied to a dock, and the pilot was charged with breaking the law and received a $300 fine. It's also reported the lake is listed as an approved landing spot by the state of Minnesota, no FAA flight restrictions were in place, and that the pilot did not violate any aviation regulations. This incident brings up the question of how a pilot is supposed to know that a local authority has restricted a landing area that is otherwise approved by the state and the FAA. After the break, is the City of Santa Monica really a part of America?
Redbird Flight Simulations is dedicated to revolutionizing flight training by designing, manufacturing, and delivering affordable and innovative flight training technologies. Each Redbird device is designed to enhance the training experience for pilots of all levels, from student to ATP. Redbird is quickly becoming the industry standard for flight training. Since Redbird introduced its revolutionary FMX in 2007, colleges, universities, and flight training operations around the world have integrated Redbird products into their curriculum. It's time to discover what Redbird can do for you. Join the migration.
Concorde's recombinant gas RG series sealed battery technology produces a high-performance battery with the advantages of being pre-tested and fully charged at the factory. Find out more about Concorde's entire line of batteries at www.concordebattery.com. Concorde, the heart of your aircraft.
Explore no limits flying in the FAA-certified Sea Ray Amphibious LSA, one of the top 3 best-selling LSAs in the U.S. Progressive Aerodyne Sea Ray comes equipped with a Rotax engine and exhibits extraordinary handling on land, water, and in the air. Check it out at www.searay.com.
Welcome back. If you have a story suggestion for Airborne Unlimited, Aero-TV, our website or podcast, just email to news-spy@aero-news.net. Once again, the bizarre issue of whether or not the airport in Santa Monica, California can remain open is back in the news. Remember, this is a case where the city wants to close the airport, but the FAA says no because federal funds used for the airport improvements require that the airport stay open for a certain length of time. In response to the FAA's position, the City of Santa Monica has chosen to make it difficult, if not impossible, for businesses to remain in operation on the airport to discourage the use of the airport. 2 FBOs have already had their leases canceled. This time, the victim is an innocent bystander, which is a restaurant named the Typhoon. It's a well-known restaurant in the area that specializes in some amazing meals and exotic cuisine. It's reported the city has raised their rent triple-fold, and the restaurant has now announced that it'll close. This makes us wonder how something like this could happen in America. We at ANN are disgusted by this turn of events and other actions that appear to be in process at Santa Monica. We'll report back with more updates. Every Tuesday, we look ahead at some of the more interesting events in the aviation universe. Here is this week's Aero Calendar. If you've ever tried to find the most delightful place to fly for general aviation fly-in, the Nut Tree Airfair in Vacaville, California would have to rank high on the list. The airfair takes place on October 15th and will feature classic, vintage, and warbird aircraft on display with food, biplane rides, RC, and drone demos, and more. It's Red Bull Air Race time again. After their premier air race in Indianapolis 2 weeks ago, the Red Bull racers have moved to the city that never stops performing, Las Vegas, Nevada. The final race of the 2016 season on October 15th and 16th blasts off in the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas as Red Bull Air Race is welcomed back to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the third consecutive year. And speaking of Indianapolis, just 2 weeks after the Red Bull racers burned up the skies over the Indianapolis Raceway, aviation is back on the front page again. The Indianapolis Airshow runs October 16th through the 18th. For the past 16 years, this airshow has become a well-known name in the aviation industry. People from all over the country will show up to witness this mega event. Now we've moved to Fort Worth, Texas for the Bell Helicopter Fort Worth Alliance Airshow, being held October 15th and 16th. The U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds Air Demonstration Squadron and the U.S. Navy FA-18 Super Hornet Tactical Demonstration Team will be on hand along with numerous other aviation performers, which also includes the Bell 429 Global Ranger, Shockwave Jet Truck, and Liberty Jump Team. This is a top-notch air show. After these messages, a CubeSat space business suffers funding problems.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
The Bristol Light Sport aircraft is what you are looking for. The Bristol is wider than a Cirrus, faster than a Skyhawk, offers more storage than a Husky, and comes standard with Garmin avionics. So what are you waiting for? Visit Bristol.com to find out how you can get into a Bristol today.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
Based on the popular Sling 2 LSA, the Sling 4 was designed to be the most practical and desirable lightweight four-place experimental aircraft on the market. Find out more about this 115 horsepower turbocharged airplane at Airplane.
Welcome back. With so much news coming out of the aviation industry, we're summarizing some other interesting stories in a brief segment we call Around the Patch. Firefly Space Systems, who are developing a launch vehicle for small satellites, has furloughed its entire staff. It's reported that a major investor backed out of a financial arrangement, leaving the company with no choice but to shut down. The company may be for sale. It's reported the FAA has renewed its aeronautical mobile communication service agreement with Rockwell Collins. The company will continue to provide air traffic control communications, including position reports, aircraft requests, and ATC clearances between the FAA and aircraft flying in U.S. oceanic airspace. 10 high school students from across the country participated in the Embry Riddle Prescott's first ever helicopter exploration camp, where they learned to fly helicopters. The camp is the only academic, university-based helicopter program in the country. 3 teams of 25 people will compete in an attempt to pull a FedEx 757 the distance of 12 feet. The pull is to support the ARC Charity, which is a nonprofit organization offering advocacy and services to people with disabilities. This takes place at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. Poland's economic ministry has announced that talks between Poland and Airbus have finished, which ends negotiations for a deal for 50 EC-725 helicopters. It's reported that discrepancies in the negotiation positions of both sides made it impossible to reach a deal. Well, that's the trip around the patch. Now let's move on to the rest of the news. Here's a bit of a surprise. Small UAS pilots operating under Part 107 can no longer get permission to fly in tower-controlled airspaces from local air traffic control personnel. Here's what's going on. FAR 107 contains the regulations for non-recreational operations of small unmanned aerial systems, but it's the FAA orders that actually control how the FAA manages the regulations. A tweet from Peter Sachs, Esquire, correctly points out the relevant section in FAA Order JO 7200.23 states, quote, "In the event a Part 107 operator contacts an ATC facility directly for authorization, the facility must not issue the authorization. The facility must direct the operator to the FAA UAS website." The website contains the forms that need to be filled out in order to receive permission to fly in tower-controlled airspace. In a sense, it's handled like a waiver. However, if you are flying a small UAS for recreational purposes, nothing has changed, and you should advise a control tower of your intention to operate. There is no need to use a waiver procedure. Well, that's our program for today. Remember that Airborne Unlimited is streamed daily Monday through Friday, with additional breaking news bulletins for important stories that fall outside of our normal deadlines. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, and don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Get comprehensive real-time 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. We'll see you tomorrow.